ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to another Saturday, to another fun-filled trip here on Mount Schmoedown. While we strap ourselves into a roller coaster of nostalgia, and we go through the Schmoedown theme park as we start to look at the careers of every Schmoedown player, past, present, and maybe in the future. But we can't ever foresee that far. But before we continue on, I'm one of your hosts for this show, Ryan Payne. On my left is my other co-host, John DeGreggio, and at the bottom is my second co-host, pretty much the captain of the ship, Ben Rayner. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Trying to stay cool now that California has decided. Oh, you had a great day inside. Well, tough luck. I'm kicking up the weather.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm also in California, so I know that feeling really well.
Yeah, but
I can feel it from down here though too.
It's nothing new, honestly. I mean, at this point, if you live in California for more than a decade and you're still not used to the hot weather and you haven't found ways to cope with it, it's pretty much on you. And I found ways to cope with it. I either drink hot tea and then just don't feel anything, or I just leave the windows open. And I'm doing a mixture of both. But it's not about the weather for me today. We have, for all of you that are watching live or on the rewatch, we want to thank you for really checking out our show here on the Schmoes of the North YouTube channel. For the past couple of weeks, we've had incredible episodes focusing on Christian Harloff.
Right, you mean it, man.
It seems my microphone is starting to get trippy on me, but it's not a show here unless there is some internet or technical problems, and apparently it wants to do that to me today. But as I was saying, last week when we were talking about Kevin Smets, we had the brilliant Kaiser on with us, just giving us great stories about Kevin Smets and their journey in the Schmoedown. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have 100% in my book, one of the damn best Schmoedown players in the game, and he is still one of the longest current competing competitors, and that is the former intern of the Schmoes Know Network, now known as JTE, or like Ken Napstok likes to call, the famed Ecuadorian engineer, or the famed engineer from Ecuador, Josh Tapia.
He might be the very first Schmoedown player, right? He goes all the way back to season 1, I believe, right?
Right, 2014,
Yeah.
And the Schmoes Know
The first
days.
match was between him and Lobster, yeah.
But yeah, JTE is one of my favorite competitors and everything, especially when you look at what him and Snyder did when they were part of the Den and with the Patriots and everything too. They seemed like a dominant team that nobody could even mess with or anyone can strike down. They're just one of those teams that, people love to hate because they kept on winning, and no matter who they threw at them and everything, they would come close to winning. And then all of a sudden, JTE and Schneider would come back and just dominate over them. And everything. It was a back and forth game.
Okay, yeah. He's got a point there. Humidity is the worst. Right now, it's just like the rays are hitting us, so we're feeling it, but the humidity is it's like a balance. Not balance, it's kind of like a give and take. It takes away the humidity for a while, but I know in certain regions, the humidity is just insane. But, yeah, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
And JTE is an incredible singles player too. Let's not forget that. He was great at teams and he was great at singles. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
As far as the singles run go, I mean, before he and Snyder were dominant as the Patriots, JTE, he really did have pretty much like as I was doing my roller coaster announcement about the Schmoedown, his singles went up and down. I mean, going from that first match against Cobster all the way to his most recent match against recent match against Drew McWeeny. Wait, it was against McWeeny, right? Paul Preston. Sorry,
Preston.
I'm thinking of I was rewatching the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament that he played, and Drew McQueen was one of his opponents. Sorry, but yeah, up to his most recent match against Preston, JTE has always been a really hit and miss kind of guy. I mean, when he hits, he's in the zone, and when he misses, we all know how bad he misses. I mean, seriously, Christian, everyone in the audience in the studio, they just lose their minds when JTE misses a question, either by a letter, or he's off, or for Christ's sakes, the tri-senator tops. It's still something that is still, I won't say haunts him, but it still follows him to his entire career.
Well, even going back into the Kalinowski match that I watched recently, he missed one of the questions, and he was just so frustrated with it. It kind of reminds me of some of the other players that we had where they were basically in their own heads, where they thought that they had the answer and then they would wind up getting it wrong and it would actually take them out. Schneider's one of those players, too, that is just like that, where he'll get so wound up over that one question that he'll wind up missing a lot more questions later on. And Roxy or whoever his manager is and everything, too, has to go on ahead. I'm just saying, not right now. I know who his manager is now, but I'm talking about, like, you would actually have to put him back into the game and everything and put him back in that mindset again. And JTE is just like that, too. Gets so wound up over that one question when there's several more questions that he can answer. It's just that one question beats him up.
Well,
Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I think that's what made him and Snyder so well working together. Because they filled in each other's blind spots, and they had really good chemistry. I honestly would love to see this egg can never happen, but it would be fun to see a match between the Patriots and the Odd Couple. Snyder
that would be a difficult match to pull off, honestly. It would. But I see the mindset, honestly. I do see that mindset.
Most teams work so well together. And you have to say, Bobby Finstock, Gucci, whatever you want to call him, worked so well with JTE and Snyder. They were a trinity, and they worked wonderful together. What are your guys' thoughts?
Finstock, he was like really kind of like Finstock and JTE were really like a great pairing together. I mean, Finstock was always he's him being Finstock eccentric, and JTE at times really playing the straight man to this duo. They were really able to bring out some great like some gold moments between each other. I mean, in fact, they were the first time the team's tournament happened in the season 2 era. They were a team box office breakdown, and they got all the way to the finals, pulling off upsets against like the debuting top 10 of John and Matt Nose. I mean, coming so close to beating the Schmoes in the finals, they just missed by one question. And even then, some of the victories they had, beating Rotten Tomatoes, was insane. I mean, just knowing that JTE, even though when you look at the pair, you think JTE is the muscle of that group, but Finstock as a partner really showed that when he's got a certain question, he's able to pull like a rabbit out of the hat, like a real magician. And it really, but unfortunately, in that match against the Schmoes, it showed that even though JTE was on the top of his game, Finstock unfortunately was not, and it led to the breakup of that team. And then it went to this. JTE had so many arcs.
Right.
Literally, there are so many moments where you can tie JTE to with the Schmoedown that we could almost make a top 10 or a top 5 out of JTE moments.
Don't forget, talking about Clark Wolf, he was his short. He sent that email to Clark. She was answering him before she got paired with Riley. Now that would have been an interesting team. JTE and Clark Wolf.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that one, guys?
To be honest with you, I think that they could have actually had that balance where Clark Wolf and him. I remember that was actually going to be he wanted her to be his partner, and then of course that's when Riley ended up becoming his partner instead, becoming her partner instead. But I think Schneider and him were just dominant together, and then even whenever they had to fight up against each other and everything in the singles tournament and everything too, because don't forget they had to pretty much be like Rocky Balboa and everything, fighting against friends against friends.
Yeah.
And so therefore they had to fight against each other, and it was a struggle between the two of them. Like there was like a 2-point difference by the time with Schneider and him. It just shows you on the competitive level of how they are whenever they're in singles and when they're in of course in teams matches.
Yeah, completely agree. Like I really would have. It would have been very fun to really see how JTE and Clark would have worked together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Clark, the new rookie at the time, and JTE, he was the more experienced player, just like Riley was. Except at the time, Riley was the singles champion, and JTE had suffered a big loss against him. So it did make more sense that Clark would join with Riley, because not mainly because he was champion, but as we talked about before, they have that shared common knowledge of horror. They've worked together on the Collider Nightmares before, and they have this camaraderie outside of Schmoes. And I don't know much if she and Jay went on in. It just felt to me that perhaps sometimes the best team more on that day. Like Snyder and JTE really played their role of heel douchebags very well. Just coming in there, looking to win points, and then just annihilating anybody in their way. And mentioning with the Patriots, Ben knows I brought this up before in the past, but that match between the Patriots. Oh, am I cutting out, Ben? Can you guys hear me?
On and off.
That's definitely not good. I'm definitely gonna need to jump. I'm gonna jump and come back in because I don't want this to be a consistent problem. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. But going off of what Ryan said though too, I think that seeing them two being, if we ended up seeing Clark and him be partners and everything, I think that would have actually been an interesting concept because we wouldn't know. Here's the thing: JTE is all over the place whenever it comes down to different types of genres of film. And don't get me wrong, Clark is too, but her strongest strength has always been horror. So it'd be interesting to see how you have one person that is dominant in horror, and then they can actually coach each other. And then JTE can also coach her in other films as well, and then she can also coach JTE in horror films also. But what do you think?
I tend to agree with that. I mean, I think they do complement each other. Do they complement each other as good as Snyder and JTE? I don't think so. But that's just me. What about you, Ryan?
It is a question. It feels like a question that, as much as we can speculate on, we'll never get the full answer to. But I think they really could have complemented each other. Because JTE was a big fan. I mean, we saw his strengths. Sly and Artie, he was able to pull sports questions. There's some good dramas, action adventure films. Clark was definitely big into horror. She definitely knew a couple of romance and rom-com questions. Not a lot though, but she knew a couple that could pull her and JT out of fire. And then of course she was definitely versed in Oscar movies. Not a lot though, but at the time when she was starting, she knew enough about Oscar trivia knowledge that could really close the gap within her and JT as a team.
I can definitely see that, to be honest with you. I think that they could have clicked, especially on don't forget you mentioned romantic movies. JT has some familiarity with some romantic movies and too, especially whenever he answered a couple of questions with Meet Joe Black, among other films though too. So I think that they would actually click pretty well.
Now, I think I asked you this before, but it's been a few weeks at this, so I'll ask it again. Do we think the Patriots in their prime? Do you think if we took them in their prime and put them in this current season or last season, would they be in the top tier or would they be just below the top tier?
I think they definitely would have been top tier because they lost the way they lost above the line for the championships was by missing a 5-pointer. If they had gotten that 5-pointer, they'd still beat the champions. And then, even despite how that Iron Man match went at the Collision, that still doesn't judge how they would have played going down the road. But it definitely did feel that the Patriots, their run as a team, kind of run its course. Because even then, I think around their 7th defense, like the second time they played top 10, it started to look to me that guys were no longer finding ways to be the bad guys. That, okay, we won again. So that's why I liked in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament when they were playing singles matches, we did get to see JTE and Snyder try to shine more as singles players. And JTE, yeah, beating he was able to win against Mike. He beat Jeff. He was able to win against oh my god, what was the first person he played against? I just rewatched it. Yeah, I'm gonna break my head over this. But at McWeeny, I just said McWeeny earlier, but yeah, he beat McWeeny, Snyder, and he played against what's up, Taco, and then yeah, played up against Mike, and then got all the way to the semifinal, the finals to play up against Sam and lost again by like 1 again. So if JTE had really gone through, we would have seen him versus Christian spectacular for the championship and played the same against Sam. JTE would have been the champion. So like there has been 2 opportunities where JTE has came so close to singles gold before the Schmoedown started to change up its whole system. And even then, his work as a singles player was fantastic. I mean, he gave a TKO defeat to William Viviani. There were 13-12 in that round. And Viviani just missed all 3 of his questions. And then his match against Clark Wolf, which I mentioned on our time when we talked about Clark, the first time the JTE rule was enacted, the first time challenges were enacted, the first time the whole Booker T keys to victory was enacted. All 3 of those things that was fluent throughout that season 4 of the Schmoedown was all prominent in that match against Clark Wolf. And just the back and forth between them was fantastic. I mean, he still lost because if he had lost to Clark, he would have gotten to play Riley. And then if he had beaten Riley, he would have played Roca. Like just the ifs and what ifs from the more important matches in JTE's career really shows that as a singles player, he definitely is a top tier competitor. And from what we just saw in his match against Goddard and Preston, even if he is behind, he still came out with the victory.
Let me ask you guys a question. Way back when in the prime, the rivalry between top 10 and the Patriots, would either of you ever thought that Walker and JTE would be in a team, on a team, in a faction managed by, at that time, Fenstock? What do you think of this?
If it was during that run of the season, that would have been damn impossible. But go ahead, John.
But yeah, it was just one of those things, right? Where it's like a fish out of water kind of scenario that we would never ever experience, to be honest with you. It's kind of crazy to actually think that these 2 competitors who are on totally different ways of thinking on different levels of strategy, that they would actually be a good matchup together, It's actually crazy to think that we would actually have Roca, who didn't really like JTE. We saw him as more of a threat, because he always was wanting to take JTE down. And then he turns around, and now they're partners. It's, to be honest with you, it's the perfect – everybody didn't see it coming. I think it's the perfect balance, in a sense, of having that, because you have 2 seasoned competitors together.
absolutely agree. Their experience, they help each other out, and yeah, and they're great together. And I'm really looking to see how far they go this season.
All right.
So, and we can't forget about JTE's time with Ron Harris in, what is it, the Evil Geniuses?
Yeah.
I think, what do you think of that pairing?
Oh man. I to be honest with you, I love that. To be honest with you, I thought
Okay.
I thought it was really great. What about you?
Yeah, I liked it too. They weren't as great together as JTE and Snyder, but I like their dynamic, and I wish we got to see more of it. And then life gets in the way, and suddenly, yeah, and then we got to see more of it. You know, Ryan, I
Yes.
asked Son, we can't forget about Evil Geniuses.
Oh,
JTE's time with Ron Harris. What do you think of that?
that team, they really had the potential to be a great team. I mean, there are two matches they had, both technical knockouts. I mean, sure, the teams they went up against, Wildberries and Superhero News, someone has said that they're like low B or C level teams, but even then, the way that JTE and Lon played in that first round really helped showed the breadth of knowledge both of these men had. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, Leo. Those
Yeah.
both of them. It really was unfortunate timing. It was just bad luck or just unfortunate circumstances that caused Lon and JTE to be split up on two different occasions. I mean, but even then, even when they did split up, we got the Harris brothers, and then that led to a great match, a very fun, entertaining match between JTE and Jonathan Harris. And I loved how it was a stipulation match too. If JTE wins, Evil Geniuses reform. If Jonathan Harris wins, he gets to choose JTE's partner. And I just loved it on that match. John was making jabs at JTE's little accidents. It was just very funny, and just the reactions. I can't remember the question was, but it was what was he at? I can't remember the movie, but what animal was this? And then JTE, and then John just goes, "Oh, this is just a jab at JTE. Is it a bird?" Everyone lost their shit. Camera perfectly turns to how he's just grinning and bearing it, knowing that people were going to make jokes about it. But still, he was able to really go through. He was still able to play and come out with a great victory. But God, I would have loved to have seen the Evil Geniuses really make a tear in the teams tournament. That would have been fantastic, seeing them going up against the Paddington 2.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Moving up, I was going to say with JTE, I mean, I said that there was moments in his career that really stood out. Even if he had retired in season 5, alone the matches and moments that he was a part of easily still could have put him in the Hall of Fame of the Schmoedown. And what I think to me, I'm just going to kick off with this. What moment in JTE's career that even till now you would introduce to somebody who knows nothing about the Schmoedown? A moment or a match, because for me personally, best example I could do if they wanted to see something of a show doing comedy entertainment, the JTE, I would show them that.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben?
I would show them free for all. Get an idea of all the players, get an idea of the concept of the trivia, and then let everyone see a fun time everybody has. Don't forget, JTE had a great moment in Free for All 3 when he made Dan laugh because
Yeah, are you talking about the Jew Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the third.
You want to explain that, Ryan?
I mean, simply, yeah, third free for all was fantastic. He was definitely a surprise entrant in there because I can't remember. I think it was number. He was one of the third numbers in the 30s. Everyone was waiting. The moment you hear that his theme song, shipping up to Boston, just da da
Yep.
da. Like you heard that, it was clearly obvious who that was returning, and he went all the way down to sudden death. But yeah, that question from Inglorious Bastards: what is the nickname of Eli Roth's character? And everyone had the bear Jew, and then he just puts down Jew Bear, and it just broke people. Like it's just one of those classic JTE his mannerisms, his Freudian slips, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we can't talk about JTE without bringing up the trial of JTE.
Yeah.
All the way back from season 1, I believe? Maybe
Yes, it was.
season
It was.
2? That was great. What are your guys' thoughts on season 1? The trial of JTE.
John, any thoughts? Because I know I have to.
I thought the trial of JT was like very interesting, to be honest with you. It's one of those things that are one of the classic moments in history of the Schmoedown. Everything with of course with the trial of JT and everything, and then of course that's when we wind up getting the little evil nickname as well. I think within that time, right? I'm trying to remember that far back.
I think at the time, yeah, I don't know if he had a moniker at that time. He was just simply JTE. But yeah, Little Evil definitely came after he had made his fall to the dark side, though. But even in the trial, JTE was still fantastic because the circumstance. For anybody watching who's unfamiliar with the early seasons of the Schmoedown, the trial of JTE happened during season 1 after JTE played against Mark Ellis in a match for their little tournament to see who would face Mark Riley. And JTE was able to pull out the victory in their third round, which at that time was a betting round. JTE had bet all his points. Mark Ellis only bet 1 point because he didn't think JTE was going to get it. But the answer was what was the name of the band in Almost Famous, which was Stillwater. JTE pulled it out. Mark had the same 2 points. But then afterwards, there was some commotion that JTE may have heard someone actually said Stillwater around, and he just wrote that down, and then this led to a whole little controversy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Ridley Scott question. Jesus. Just another situation of JTE's little career to where, unfortunately, his Freudian slips really cost him more than they should. But even then, what could have been a very hot topic issue amongst the schmoes knows, they turned it into a great little comedy piece where they had Ken, Mark, both Ellis and Riley, Josh McCouga, at the time, Hal Rudnick. Oh, you guys should definitely watch the trial of JT because Hal Rudnick does a great character bit on JTE that you have to watch it in order to believe it. I mean, it's fantastic. And also, it gave birth to that famous line that you see in those little clip outs of Finstock when he says, I believe in trial and error. And my client, JTE, being on trial, it's an error.
Yep.
It's just the simple delivery from that just gave birth to Gucci. It was like the genesis of what Gucci was going to be.
It was definitely the start of what Gucci is, because we actually had him representing JTE. The comedic, to be honest with you, I would actually expect that from Ken to actually come up with that line of there's an error because look, he's an error. So I thought that would actually be something that would come from Ken, but coming from Gucci himself was the start of the genesis of what we have now with Gucci and everything. And to be honest with you, Gucci is always one of those characters that always throws in different people at the right times, it seems like. Because look at the crew that he has right now. And it was like, okay, where did they find these guys at? And now here we are with JTE and Roca and everything. No one thought that would actually happen. and everything. But this trial of JTE is always going to be one of my favorite classic things that happen within the and the Schmoedown though too.
Yeah. But also another great JTE moment that happened was pretty much the first time they actually did a mockumentary style documentary on JTE called Little Evil: The Fall of JTE, and they really played it like it was one of those documentaries that you see on ESPN or a Ken Burns documentary, to where they were playing this very seriously, that JTE, they build him up as a great hero, they do this whole little like retrospective on who he is, and then it was just amazing seeing the work they put into it, and the fact that even the fans around those early seasons loved it so much they wanted to see another documentary, and we ended up getting it later with John Roca.
Yep.
So to know that that first documentary with JTE was just so creative and successful amongst the fan base, we got that documentary with Roca, and who knows, maybe we'll get another documentary on a Schmoedown player again. I personally wanted it to be on Clark Wolf, but if they said it was going to be Riley or Kalinowski or Rachel Cushing,
You know
I'm
who
not going to
I
argue
want
with
to.
that too.
I'm sorry, but you know who I want that documentary on?
Yeah.
On Shia Wolves. Clark and Rachel Cushing together.
Who? Yeah.
You're lagging a little bit, Ryan.
They would be a great fit.
So you said,
Yeah. Any more thoughts on JTE, Sean?
well, I was thinking this though too. You were saying that about the Shire Wolves with the documentary. You said that would be one that you would like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see a documentary on the Shire Wolves and everything too. But also too, I would like to see a more of an updated version of how this formation of Roca and JT came together and the formation of it.
That would be interesting.
But just knowing that with JTE. Oh, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe combine Walker and JTE to make a part 3 and have them together. That would be cool. I would want that.
Okay. Oh my god, I can't stop thinking about that now. Like the Roca and JTE, like that could be like a trilogy documentary now. You do them separately, and now they're together. And what would the title of that documentary be? The Alliance, Roca and JTE.
I got it. I got it. Okay, go with me on this. We had the Outlaw. We had JTE. Outlaw v. JTE. The dawn of the Mount. What is their team name?
Rise of the.
Dawn Rushmore.
Rushmore. That would be fun.
That would be. I could actually see it though. To be honest with you.
Yeah, the poster that Brian Bird would make would be incredible.
Oh, no doubt. Walk on one side, JTE on the other.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. It would be epic.
And then you have Gucci in the middle as a Lex Luthor-ish version. So instead of making them fight each other, he brought them together.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Focus thinking about that now with JTE and Gucci, though. I do want to jam back a little bit because I don't know what it is, but Gucci being a manager for JTE was like, I don't know how it worked. Didn't feel like it was supposed to work, but it did. Honestly, how can you imagine that? Like the first time you see the Patriots form up with with Finstock at the time with that Finstock mask, you're thinking, oh, this is just gonna be another joke. JTE and Finstock are going to have another fallout. But no, that gave those three forming alone. Mark and Draco gave us possibly one of the, at the time, longest factions we have seen so far of the Lions Den.
And don't forget, in one great match, we had Tom Dagnino and Finstock on the screen together with Vin Draco.
That's right, against Makuga.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. I was thinking that one too, Ryan. Yeah.
What do you guys thought of that match?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was thinking that too myself, to be honest with you, because I was like, okay, is this going to be another repeat or rehash of what happened with Josh Makuga and everything, with JTE being part of Gucci and everything and stuff like that? Is Gucci going to go on ahead and go off the reels and cause a split between the two of them, just like with Makuga and everything? But no, they wound up getting along really well. I would say even better than Makuga, to be honest with you. I'm actually surprised they went that far the way they did, because it could actually went down that road that Makuga and Finstock did at the time and everything, but they didn't. That was actually surprising to me. It was something refreshing that I haven't seen from Finstock before, that he actually stuck with something instead of just giving up on it.
That is true, because it definitely felt, because going back with things like that, there with the mega powers. I don't know if you guys heard that. It was like a plane flying over my house, so I was going to hold. But as I was saying, with Finstock and the mega powers, that really didn't look like it was something he wanted to stick with, because after that first match against the Patriots and then against the Wingers, it really didn't look to me Finstock was having fun, like playing this whole team subject. So I think him transitioning to do more of a managerial position did work for him, because he could still be on screen and still be like a great character, and he could be able to back up JTE and Snyder, and just seeing how it works so far, like him coming out that Finstock match and then becoming Dagnino, the constant whatever he dressed up in, calling it high class or some crap. It works well this character to make you want to hate him. And then, of course, with the Patriots continuing to win was still incredible. And I'll admit, Dagnino did work on certain occasions. Like whenever the Patriots went up against top 10, Dagnino, along with JTE and Snyder, were able to really worm their way into Roca and Nost's heads. And you clearly saw that. First time they played each other at the Spectacular for those belts, it went all the way to the last question. But then the second time they played against them, top 10 lost by a TKO. And then the third time, of course the Jane Fonda question, they beat them by KO. You clearly see that throughout that rivalry with the Patriots, how well that JT and Snyder were becoming better and better as a team. Even though they still had their weak spots, they were still getting better and better together as a team, to where, like, almost everyone has said, who can beat these guys? And they came so close to defeat on so many occasions. They almost could have lost against Trek. They almost could have lost against Above the Line. And I'll admit, I mean, even though the Wolves of Steel match wasn't a very strong one, I think they could have beaten them too. But even then, Patriots were still ahead by a huge. But Trek, Modoc as well, and both those matches went into sudden death. Sudden death.
They were a great team. Has anybody come close to catching up with them?
Who? What?
I'm asking, has anybody come close to tying their record?
Oh, the team's record? No. There's no one's ever been able to do that, what the Patriots have done. I mean, many people thought Alex Damon would be the one, because he was coming up on like his next title defense, but then he lost against Demolanta. The fact that the team's division, it's much more different than it was during that early time of the Schmoes know that it's nearly impossible now to find a team that can go maybe 4 or 5-0, let alone go 9-0 like the Patriots did. And that's a huge legacy that really is gonna be very, very hard to replicate. And I'm actually glad they have that legacy on them because it shows they're great players, and that record definitely cannot take that away from them. It just can't.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, before we continue, I know we will wrap up soon, but I'm going to ask you this: reaching out, JTE, obviously long career matches. What match did you guys enjoy out of JTE? What match did you like of his?
Anytime the Patriots played top 10, probably the third time, the same final time.
Go ahead, John.
For me, it would actually be when going up against the Shire Wolves and stuff like that too, the back and forth, and also too the smack talking with Roca and everything too. Whenever they're trying to do that, go up against him, and then Roca's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on ahead and take this little JTE guy down. He doesn't know anything about trivia or anything like that, because I can actually take him down anytime, anywhere, because all he knows how to do is misspell names." So I love this. I love the rivalry with certain teams where it's one of those things where people just wanted to go on ahead and go after the Patriots because the Patriots were the most competitive team to actually go after and to bring down. And that's why there was this constant rivalry between all the teams, was because they were no longer focused on taking this other team down or anything like that. Their main focus was just JTE and Schneider, and that was it. They didn't care about don't get me wrong, they cared about the match they were in, but their main focus was going up and above to go on ahead and go climb that mountain, to go on ahead and knock down JTE and Schneider and take their belts. That was their goal. Their goal.
You phrased it brilliantly, man, because to get to the second match between Above the Line and the Patriots, Ken Knapsack said in that promo, people are not booing the Patriots because people did not come to see in the post interview, he said people did not come here to see Above the Line win. They came here to see the Patriots lose. It's 100%. That, what you just said, and Ken Knapsack's line really sum up exactly just how dominant these two were in trivia. I mean, Jeff Snyder being very tactical whenever it came with challenging a question, and JTE when able to pick up a question that Snyder just did not know. Because I will be honest, there were times where we thought Snyder was the heavy, but then JTE was secretly the castle. He was the foundation holding this team together.
Holding them, yeah. Because at first I was like, okay, Schneider's right. Because I have to agree with you on that, though, Ryan. Because I was thinking to myself when I was watching some of the other matches, it seemed like that, Schneider was actually doing most of the talking and everything, but JT was just waiting for his moment to come in and just be a wrecking ball. Like, he was just waiting for the perfect thing in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, honestly, that's one of the things I do love about the Patriots, and of course with JTE. But also another thing with JTE is I enjoyed the live match he had against John Roca at the first ever live show. They were the main event, because this ties in with JTE. Now, he had what you talked about rivalry with Roca. He had many rivalries with so many competitors. Well, you could literally do a 6 degrees of JTE with him. Like, JTE played up against Roca, who has a rivalry going, who does not like Dagnino. Dagnino does not like Emma Fife. And then that turns into Emma Fife, taking away Mark Andraco. Then Mark Andraco had an issue with Ben Bateman. Ben Bateman hates Guy. Then it gets back to Roca. And then you tie it back to Roca hating JTE. Like, you can seriously make a circle of players disliking each other, getting all the way back to JTE. JTE could be a little seed you plant in the ground and then just forms this tree of an entire foundation and connection of Schmoedown players, of rivalries and just hated storyline angles. And not just with Roca, also the whole thing with the Horsemen, and then, of course, against Clark and Mark Riley, because he's played Mark Riley 3 different occasions. He's lost to him 3 times outside of the teams match. Like 3 times in singles, and he's lost to him.
Yep.
I mean, just going on that.
Any final thoughts from you guys about JTE?
Part of me feels like we not being
Yeah.
should be a two-parter. This should be a two-parter
Yeah.
because of the he has. Go ahead, John.
Oh, go on ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, I'll get my thoughts out of the way first, so that you guys can have the floor, just in case my internet decides to blast out on me again. I will say that as long as career JT has, I feel like doing one episode on him is just not enough. But other than that, we'd be spending an episode talking about breaking down his maybe 4 matches. We can maybe go to 2 hours. That just shows the length that JT's had, the dedication he has to the Schmoedown. I mean, seriously, after he lost against Liz Shannon Miller at the Collision, that could have been the last we saw of him. But JTE, especially when he moved to a different region, like living in Wisconsin, or I don't know where he lives now, but JTE could have been like, I enjoyed my time with the Schmoedown. I'm going to go, enjoy the rest of my life. He's like, no. He comes back at free agency. He says, no, I'm coming back and I'm here to prove something. Gets back in with Finstock, has that great run with him and Roca as Rushmore. I know they're not done yet. And then those comeback victories he had against Goddard and Preston. JTE definitely proved that just like with Mark Konopik, you can be gone from this league for a while, but you can still come back and still prove you still have that fire, you still have that hunger and desire to be number one. And as much as a part of me disdains JTE's little character with when he's paired with Dagnino, I still love the fact that he's able to find a way to win.
Yep.
Same. And here's the thing. This is my final thoughts on JTE. As far as a competitor goes, you can make all kinds of jokes you want with him misspelling, with him missing certain questions or whatever. But you cannot mistake this guy. He's dangerous when it comes down to trivia, whether it's singles, whether it's teams matches and everything else. This guy he knows his stuff. And then just because he misses one question, and yes, he winds up beating himself up over it, he goes on ahead, brushes himself up, doesn't let it bother him throughout the rest of the game. He zeroes in on the next question. He goes on ahead, maybe he makes a home run. Maybe he goes on ahead and makes Schneider go on ahead and answer it. But either way it goes, he may have known that answer, but he goes on ahead. He lets his partner make the answer. JTE is a dangerous person when it comes down to teams and singles. Not only that, but even when it comes down to teams, this is something else I really like. It goes to show you the balance that Schneider has between the two of them. If he doesn't feel like he wants to answer it, even though he knows the answer, he'll bounce it back over to Schneider for him to answer if he wants to answer it. Then also, too, Roca and him are just as dangerous in the pocket and everything now, too. Because of the fact, they have their rivalry, but it's like two friends shaking hands, getting over all the other childish stuff, and say, hey, look, I'm here right now. I want to go on ahead and partner up with you. We're rivalries in the past. I want to go on ahead and see what we have. And JTE is back now to have a standpoint now, to actually show something versus before and everything. Now it seems like he's more after blood than he's just after titles now. Because he's like, because in his perspective, I've already done the titles. I've already done all this stuff right here. I need to go on ahead and show these rookies, show these people that I'm a seasoned player, that I can actually go out and win and do this and everything without having to look back at all the titles and everything and just rip through everybody. But that's just my perspective on that and everything. But what do you guys think?
Ben, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, he's great. He's always been entertaining. I think people still underestimate him. And I can't wait to see what he does next. I can't wait to see him in the singles tournament. I can't wait to see him and Sean continue to play more. Bring him on. Let's see what comes next.
Right now for JTE, I think right now the horizon is looking very bright on him. He's got two, like I said, I've already said 2 singles victories this season. he's definitely gained himself another match down the road. I mean, he may not get a number one contenders match, but he's going to get another match that could qualify him for a number one contender shot. And yeah, him and Roca, they came down last question. Well, I mean, I mean, Ben and Dan answered their 3-pointer in their teams match. But even then, 2 knockout victories in their first 2 teams matches, and then of course going all the way to a 3-rounder. We're definitely seeing Rushmore's definitely coming back. Either if it's going to be another team's tournament, or by the time Christian gets into the studio, we're finally going to see these 2 actually in the same space together, playing together. That is going to be really, really interesting.
It's going to be trippy. That one is going to be trippy.
That's what excites me about the studio, them going back to the studio. We're finally going to be seeing these pairings face to face in the same space. It's going to be incredible.
I can't. I'm hoping we get the studio. I'm hoping they get the studio soon. It's been too long. Yeah, I like additional, but I miss the studio.
Yeah, studio. It's obviously its own flavor. We definitely saw exactly how much these players are struggling adapting to the digital format. I still think we can still keep the digital format, especially for players who are living in different counties or in different states outside of California. But for right now, when that studio comes back, I can't wait to see the lineup that's going to be coming out there. But other than that, JTE, incredible. I mean, what else is there to say about him? Really? I mean, despite his slip-ups, misspellings, and mispronunciations, this man, as you said, John, he is dangerous, he is out for blood, and he is hungry. So one thing's for sure is never count him out when you play against him. Ben Goddard learned that. Paul Preston learned that. Roca definitely learned that. Why do you think he's teaming up with him? And 100% Snyder knows that too. I mean, just go look back at season 4, his run during season 4. He had a hit and go of wins and losses. Season 5 was definitely his downward slope a little bit, but even then, he was still a very good player you don't underestimate. Gentlemen, any final words, or we should close this out?
I think we should close this out.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than that, though, Ryan. Seriously,
Yeah.
I said that in that same way and everything. I mean, I cannot top the way you said it either. So I think it's good if we just go on and close it out. I think it's going to be. I think it's great.
Sure, definitely will. Everyone out there in the live chat, or those rewatching this video maybe later today or tomorrow, sometime during next week, thank you for clicking on, watching myself, John, and Ben discuss JTE and his career. Were there any moments of any matches that you thought that showed the best of JTE? Any special moments that you loved that made you laugh, made you want to hate his character, or made you root for him? Put it down in the comment section. Like this video as well. And come back next week on Saturday for another Mount Schmoedown, as we are going to break down another great Schmoedown competitor. It's going to be TBD right now because we will announce soon. Come back with us every Saturday because we're just going up. We're firing off on all cylinders here. So going off here, Ben, where can all the fellas and ladies find you?
Find me at my Twitter at Ben_Rainey. You can also find me on the Video Studies Network where I'm on several shows, shooting the movies, recapping the past, Get Sweaty, and right here on Dr. Schmoedown. I think that's everything. Yeah. Okay. Good.
All right. And everyone, you guys can definitely find me here on the Schmoes of the North Network with Mount Schmoedown as well, continuing to break down, dissect the careers of Schmoedown players. Sometimes you'll see me on some of the Schmoedown, on some of the Schmoes of the North shows like Schmoedown Nights in Canada. And also I have anybody out there watching are wrestling fans, I do have a wrestling podcast that I co-host with the current first-class league competitor, the sinister one, James Shimo. It's called Wrestling, Ramblings, and Rages podcast. It is available on Spotify, Apple, Podbean, and Anchor, or anywhere else you can find your a podcast available on. We've been a little behind a little bit because of scheduling and also not part of the first-class league, so that's precedent. But even then, we are still recording our episodes, and we're going to churn them out as soon as we can. And also, James and I also do watch-alongs on his YouTube channel, Schmoedown Productions, where we have watched The Bad Batch, Loki, first episode of Loki. We watched Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision. Check those out. Like I said, they're watch-alongs. So if you want to just pop on your favorite episode of The Bad Batch or The Mandalorian, you can just watch our reactions as we were watching for the first time. John, now that I'm finished, where can the good people find you?
Okay, everybody, you guys can go in and find me on Movie Lovers Unite and everything. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to be on somebody else's show for a change on Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. It's going to be Vernon Kelly's little podcast that he has on YouTube. And we're going to be doing a little thing called Tracking Progress. So that's like tracking progress with mental health, tracking progress with YouTube and stuff like that as a podcaster and things like that. So it's going to be me and 6 other panelists on the show. So that's going to be interesting. But anyways, if you guys want to, go on ahead and follow me at Movie Lovers Unite on Facebook and Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite over there. Of course, you guys can go on and follow me underneath the same brand name on Instagram and, of course, on Pinterest as well. And you can also go on ahead. We pretty much schedule shows at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Time on my YouTube channel. So go on ahead, check your listings on what I have scheduled. Right now, I don't have anything that much planned out right now for this coming up week, but stay tuned for more. Another thing, too, is go on ahead, follow me also on Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter. If you guys want to reach out to me, if you guys are a sponsor, go ahead and go email me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And of course, for all your entertainment needs and wants, just go on ahead and head over to movieloversunite.com. And then go on ahead, get an audio-only podcast of our show wherever you guys get your podcasts at. And then if you want to donate to my page, how do you do that? Just go to gofundme.com/movieloverspodcast. And then the last and final place that you guys can go ahead and follow me at is the Movie Lovers Unit on stereo as well. We do some stereo shows every once in a while. So go ahead, check us out over there. And always, until next time, follow Ryan, follow Ben as well. But that's all the places that you can find me at.
Well said. Now that we've all spent the last 2 minutes plugging our stuff in, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out with us, listening to us, just talk, just mainly talk Schmoedown. And please enjoy your night, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your afternoons, your mornings, whenever you're watching this. And always have yourself a great day. Much love.
Have a good one. Bye.